Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Zen here, and we're continuing our weekly series where we showcase the top winning deck lists from this past week's tournaments, as well as their different variations. Now, if you want to support this type of content, well then you guys know exactly what to do because you did it last time in last week's video. Like the video, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you guys think of this video so we can continue it every single week. And with that, let's hop into our first deck list we're going to be covering today, and it's going to be the Giratina EX and Greninja Core. And before we start, there's actually 7 winners running some type of core variation of these two that have won tournaments this past week. However, we're going to be going over 2 types of variations that I think are pretty spicy. And the first one is the Snorlax variation. So you have the 2 Froakies and you have the 2 Greninjas. And honestly, I said this time and time again, the Greninjas with Rare Candy are probably the best Pokemon from the entire game that have felt the most impactful, with Rampardos being right up there. But Greninja, man, just being able to go straight into Greninja and snipe for 20 just feels so strong. This player is also running 2 Giratina EXs, 2 Snorlax, 2 berries, because the idea is you want to front line with your Snorlax, and if you can, while you're ramping back line with your Giratina, you're giving some energy to your Snorlax, and then you could just hit for 100 with berry back to back. And also we have double Nurse Joys. We're calling them Nurse Joys forever on this channel, to help you get out of any sort of sleep clause that your Snorlax might be in, right? So that way you could still get some more damage off. We have a Cyrus that synergizes with the Greninja, and a Rocky Helmet that also can go onto your Snorlax. But that's the variation that's been winning a lot. I think there's like 3 or 4 variations of this, potentially even 5, that got first place within the last week. And the one we're looking at is from the Imperium's weekly tournament with 197 players. Now, the next variation I want to talk about is another tournament that happened 2 days ago with 112 players. And this one's very interesting. You're running the Oricorio here. However, a lot of decks have also been running dual energy. So you're running water and lightning, which is kind of difficult. It's never really been done before. I mean, you've had the Giratina Darkrai, but like it's still just darkness energy, and Giratina ramps itself with its own energy. So being able to actually run a dual energy deck to a first place winning deck list, not just once, but a couple times. There's a few first place winners with this variation right here, is really impressive. 2 Froakies, 1 Frogadier, so you're never just fully stuck if you don't find your rare candies. Only 1 Giratina, right? And then you have your 2 Oricorios, and of course your 2 Greninjas, but your 2 Oricorios help you just tell your opponent's EXs they can't do anything. And if you're going into something like Darkrai Giratina and you're afraid of chip damage, well, there's the Shaman here, which is an amazing addition because it keeps your Oricorio cheerleader online forever. They just never go down. We also have a Cyrus, a Cape that I'm assuming goes on the Oricorio depending on what your matchup is. 2 Iridas, because again, water lightning type is the best assumption here. I've seen this deck in action. They almost always run dual energy. That helps you recharge your Oricorios, recharge your Giratinas, recharge anything with your Shaman, your Guzma, and then the rest are just the staples, the double Pokeballs and the double Researchers. But that's going to be the Giratina EX Greninja Core. Those are the 2 variants, and they've won across those 2 variants 7 tournaments this past week. First place winners. Now let's check out Darkrai Giratina, or as many of you know, Darktina. This is actually kind of funny to me because it's still so good. First place in the Chirico Kitaro Cup mini season 6. This one had 81 players, and it's honestly just the staple Darkrai, 2 Darkrai's, 2 Giratinas, 2 Capes. The new additions would be something like a Guzma, Leaf, 2 Mars. You have your Nurse Joy, and then the staples being Pokeball Research, 2 Potions, a red card, a helmet, and a Sabrina for disruption. Now, right off the bat, the single red card in 2 Mars really screams to the whole we need to disrupt the current meta, being rare candy. So if your opponent is like turn 1, a rare, not rare candy, research, building their hand, getting all the cards they want, you want cards to thin their hand back to 3 and potentially not give them the turn 2 Rampardos into your just your entire team. So I think with this type of deck list, the disruption is going to be very key with Mars and red card. However, there's another variation that's winning first place, and it's the Greninja variation. I told you guys, Greninja is so good. And this one is a 77 player tournament, 2 Darkrai, 2 Giratina EXs, and then 2 Froakies and 2 Greninjas. You have your 2 rare candies, and the idea is you don't need red for this at all. You have your Cyrus, your Greninja acts like a free red every single turn while also allowing you to use supporter cards. So it's a very strong deck list variation in my opinion. However, you are also potentially not drawing your Giratinas, you're not drawing your Darkrai's because you are including essentially 2 more basic Pokemon that you can open up with, which might not be the worst, but we'll see. We'll see how it keeps going. Again, this won first place. In fact, there are 5 Darkrai Giratina variations that won first place within this past week. The rest of this deck is Cyrus, Cape, Mars, Leaf, 2 Pokeballs, 2 Research, a Nurse Joy, and a Potion. And again, 2 rare candies. Very solid. However, there is still one more variation we have to talk about for Darktina. Who knew? Who knew they'd be coming back with style? And that's this one. There's really nothing to throw on here except for the fact that they're running an Oricorio. The idea of this is you just lead your Oricorio if they have something like an EX Pokemon, and then your backline Darkrai just keeps hitting them for 20. That's it. You obviously have some sustain here with Cape, some Nurse Joy in case they have something that can damage you. But yeah, it's really cheeky. It does really well. This one was a 103 player tournament, and yeah, they got first place with this Oricorio build. They're also running Poison Barb, which is the first one I'm seeing in today's video. But yeah, very spicy deck list. Again, 2 Disruption with Mars, a Sabrina, and you also have the Guzma. But there you guys have it. 5 Darkrai Giratina EX variants won first place this past week, and these are the 3 variations that we saw amongst those 5. Now let's move on to just some one-offs, starting with the Incineroar here that got first place in the Paldeo Pocket, 24 players, and it's pretty standard, honestly. The thing that I really like to see here is the Turtonator with the Kiowa. I really like that card. In fact, I like playing it with Alolan Marowak. However, having something like your Turtonator in front as a frontliner, but also being able to dish out 90 damage is pretty solid. You have your 2 Incineroar, your 2 Litten, which I believe is from Sun Pack. I've been mistakenly saying Moon Pack, but this is the one that damages yourself, so it synergizes with your Incineroar, and then a Torcat as well. 1 Lily, 2 rare candies, your staples being Pokeball Research, 2 Rocky Helmets, which I'm assuming goes on your Turtles, and then 2 forms of Disruption, which again, I feel like Sabrina is actually going to be pretty good. If you're not running Greninja would go Peanut Butter and Jelly with Cyrus, but if you're not running Greninja or have any means of sniping, I think the Sabrina is definitely the play in terms of Disruption. So pretty solid to see 2 weeks in a row where Incineroar is still winning. I love it. Next up is going to be the Lycanroc deck list and core. 2 first place winners within this past week, and both ran very similar deck lists. But this is really impressive because first place in the grand tournament of 299 players. So shout out to you, Ken458962. I feel like we read that last week. Are you just winning tournaments every single week? Shout out, man. That's amazing. And this one is running the whole Rockruff Lycanroc. This deck list is kind of spicy and great. I love it myself because you're guaranteed to start Rockruff. Now with that start, if you use your attack, you'll draw your Lycanroc, which means the following turn, you can evolve into Lycanroc and potentially, if you've taken damage, do 100 to your opponent. But that's not all. We also have the Skull Fossil with Rare Candy, which means you can go right into your Rampardos. And by turn 2, if you're going second, your lead already has an energy. You're guaranteed to evolve into your Rampardos with the Rare Candy, give it an energy, switch out, and turn 2 start smacking your opponent for 130, which is insane, right? But that's not all. We even have more damage. We have red in this deck to turn that into 150, or potentially your Lycanroc to deal 120. You have Disruption in the form of Iono and Sabrina, but I'd imagine Iono is actually here to help you. The same with Communication, only 1 Pokeball, 2 Researchers, again, 2 rare candies, and a Cyrus and a Cape. This is a really good deck list, but also a Cranidos. It's literally the first card. We can't skip that out in case you don't find your rare candies, because Rampardos is your heavy hitter at the end. However, again, this deck list got first place. the issue is bricking and not finding your skull fossils could be a thing, right? So just don't do that and you should be fine. But yeah, shout out to the Lycanroc players winning tournaments this week. This is pretty spicy. I'm glad to see this. Oh man, talk about just super annoying to go into. This is first place in the TBBL welcome, 44 players. And it's not running a rare candy because the only stage 2 line in the entire game that probably doesn't want rare candy is Magnezone. So with that, you have Magnezone and Oricorio. You get your Magnezone online, you start hitting them for 110. It's just so much damage. However, if they have EX Pokemon, well, you could just send out your Oricorio with a Barb. They can't hit you, they can't do anything. The Poison Barb is a really nice addition to this. And yeah, very cheeky way to win. Not surprised. I feel like this is probably one of the stronger Oricorio builds because you have the Magnezone to rely on for heavier, higher amounts of damage. We also have Cyrus, 2 Barbs, 2 Research, 2 Pokeballs, 2 Nurse Joys, 2 Potions. So there's a lot of sustain here. The idea is to keep everyone alive and keep doing damage, and then 1 means of disruption with Sabrina. So shout out to this player, Win, for getting first place in the TBBL. Welcome. There was also another Magnezone first place winner. So yeah, you guys are doing phenomenal this week. 2 Magnezone winners with Oricorio in the second week of Celestial Guardians. We also have 2 winners, first place winners, with Solgaleo. I feel like last week we had way more. This one was like the most played and the most top winning first place winning deck list, right? However, this one is 28 players in their tournament, and it is running 2 Skarmorys, 2 Solgaleos, 2 Cosmog, only the 1 middle stage Cosmion, and a Poison Barb, which is very interesting because now you can get the boost with Skarmory, but you could also prevent your opponent from even attacking your Skarmory, because if they hit you, well then they're poisoned. We also have 2 Capes, a single Rocky Helmet, Mars, which I've seen a lot more Mars in this deck variation to add to disruption, as well as Sabrina for more disruption. But yeah, I still personally think Solgaleo EX is one of the best new EX Pokemons. For 2 energy, you're just turbo hitting for 120, and you can just switch with the front. Like there's no, the minus 10 HP after you attack is really abysmal when you think about it. So yeah, shout out to you guys, Solgaleo, first place winners. This deck, I imagine I will see it every single week during Celestial Gardens. Now it's time for our one-offs, and we have a one-off here in a 24-player tournament that got first place, and it's Darkrai Greninja with Drud. I mean, you guys remember this. Before Rare Candy, this was a problem. So now including Rare Candy, oh my god, is this a problem? The thing that's surprising here is that they're also including Red. I feel like with Greninja, you get a free Red every single turn, so maybe that's room for something else like an Iono. But again, they're the ones who got first place. Shout out to them. 2 Cyrus, which synergizes with the Greninja, a Leaf to pull back your Drud, a Mars for disruption, as well as Sabrina, 2 Pokeballs Research, Rare Candies, which is a staple in every stage 2 now, and a Red. So shout out to you for getting first place with Darkrai Greninja. We're bringing it back old school with this one. And then finally, first place in the Night Shift tournament, 51 players, Gallade, or as I like to call it, Gallade. 2 Gallade EXs with Hitmonlee, 2 Curlias, and 2 Ralts, which is kind of weird because there's no rare candies. Now, I don't know exactly what this tournament, maybe they had rules like no rare candies allowed. However, it is a first place winner within the last week. It's the only one. So yeah, we got to include it in today's video. I'm not gonna shortchange you guys, but yeah, it's very interesting that there's no rare candies. I'd imagine there's some sort of like rule stipulation in this tournament that said so. And if not, yo, this is kind of a flex in the rare candy meta, running a stage 2 without playing rare candy. With that, we also have a Cyrus, Iono, Mars, 2 Pokeballs, Research, Rocky Helmet, Sabrina for disruption, a communication, and an X speed. But there you guys have it. That's going to be this week's first place winning deck lists for every single core and every variation of that core. So again, if you guys like this type of video, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, help us hit a goal of 1,000 likes, and I'll see you guys next week. Later.